Большие потери, блядь.
Russian occupying forces are deserting and leaving their positions in Kherson Oblast. This was reported by the partisan movement Atesh, citing its agent. The informant reported mass desertion cases in the 205th Motorized Rifle Brigade on the Dnipro River front. The cause of the desertion is the arbitrariness by the occupiers' commanders. This includes group beatings, threats of being sent on one-way missions, round-the-clock duty, and the absence of promised payments. Unwilling to tolerate this, the occupiers are abandoning their positions. According to the Atesh agent, some soldiers are seeking help from human rights organizations through their families, but so far there has been no response. Such cases are not uncommon in the occupiers' army, but in the 205th Brigade, they have reached mass proportions, the partisans claim. It was previously reported that over 1,000 occupiers from the 20th Motorized Rifle Division of Russia deserted from the war against Ukraine. A list prepared by the command, which journalists gained access to, revealed over 1,000 soldiers from the division, including contract soldiers, mobilized personnel, and conscripts. In Donetsk region, the deputy commander of the 9th Motorized Brigade of the 51st Army of the Russian Federation, Colonel Alexander Lebedev, was eliminated. Video with a large number of destroyed Russian armored vehicles. Here, a Russian tank unit was hit hard. Russian tank losses in Ukraine have reached staggering levels, with estimates suggesting thousands of vehicles destroyed, damaged, or abandoned since the invasion began. Ukrainian forces, armed with advanced Western anti-tank weapons like javelins and NLAWs, along with drones, have effectively targeted Russian armor. The losses highlight significant tactical failures, including poor coordination, outdated equipment, and vulnerability to ambushes. Repelling of a Russian mechanized assault near Trudov by 37th Brigade. Ukrainian forces have effectively leveraged artillery to decimate Russian armored units, employing a mix of precision strikes and overwhelming barrages. Using advanced Western-provided systems like HIMARS, M777 howitzers, and Caesar self-propelled guns, Ukraine has achieved exceptional accuracy, targeting Russian tanks and armored vehicles with devastating results. Drone reconnaissance plays a crucial role, spotting targets and guiding artillery fire in real time. Combined with counter-battery radars, this enables swift strikes on Russian armor, often before they can engage. Let's get back to events in Syria. Syrian rebels have announced their control over 25 towns in rural Idlib, including the Abu Duber military airbase. And this our Syrian rebels report capturing a Syrian airbase near the town of Abu ad-Duhur. We can see here that they have captured Syrian Arab army soldiers. Syrian rebels are making rapid advances on multiple fronts, capitalizing on weakened government positions and reduced support from Russian and Iranian forces. Utilizing guerrilla tactics, drones, and advanced Western-supplied weaponry, the rebels have managed to overwhelm key strongholds in northern Syria, including areas around Aleppo. Their progress is further bolstered by internal regime instability and stretched enemy supply lines, allowing rebels to reclaim territory with surprising speed. Reports suggest that some pro-government forces are retreating under pressure, leaving critical positions vulnerable. Syrian rebels in a queue for a serving of shawarma in Aleppo. The Russian army is evacuating from the Tal Rafat airbase north of Aleppo. They are quickly retreating in order not to get caught by the Turkish-backed SNA rebels. A Russian and Iranian retreat from Syria would mark a pivotal shift in the Middle East's geopolitical landscape. For years, Moscow and Tehran have been the Assad regime's main pillars, using Syria as a strategic outpost to project power and influence across the region. Their withdrawal would severely weaken the regime, embolden opposition forces, and open the door for competing powers like Turkey, the Gulf states, and even the West to reshape the conflict in their favor. For Russia, such a retreat would signal a loss of its first major foothold in the Middle East since the Cold War, undermining its global prestige and reliability as an ally. It would also weaken its Mediterranean naval presence, particularly if the Tartus base fell into enemy hands. For Iran, a pullout would sever a critical link in its Shia crescent, disrupting its ability to supply Hezbollah and maintain influence in Lebanon. This retreat would also strain the already fragile Russian-Iranian partnership, exposing cracks in their alliance. It could even have a cascading effect on other conflicts, particularly Ukraine, as Moscow's overstretched military and diminished global standing leave it vulnerable to further setbacks. Ultimately, a Russian-Iranian withdrawal could signal the unraveling of their broader ambitions in the region. If Trump cuts aid for Ukraine, it will lead to Ukraine's defenses collapsing, which will set off a refugee crisis in Europe like we've never seen before, and that's before Putin trains he guns on the Baltics. This is all avoidable if we seize the 300 billion Russian reserves.
The Ukraine is suffering as it is. If they no longer have military aid from the United States, the Russians will break their defensive lines. The Russians will take many cities in Ukraine, and that will set off a refugee crisis in Europe like they've never seen before. Putin will then probably move on Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, which are Baltic countries that are NATO allies. But the solution that I'm proposing is something that's just plain as day. It's the most obvious no-brainer, which is that a week after the war started, the West, the United States, the EU, UK, etc., froze $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves. And Trump is talking about cutting off of funding for Ukraine. Well, if those $300 billion of central bank reserves are confiscated, then Ukraine will have the money to buy ammunition, to buy bombs, to buy whatever they need to defend themselves. And so in a world where resources are running out for Ukraine, the obvious thing is for Putin to pay for it himself by confiscating his money. Now, will Trump go along with this? Probably not. It's hard to know, but this is something that can be done in the next 6 weeks. So this is a proposal that's been discussed for the last 2.5 years. A decision was already made to confiscate the interest on this money, and so it's just one step further to confiscate all the money and use it for the defense of Ukraine.
A large shipment of Swedish PBV-302 tracked armored personnel carriers was seen today in Dresden, Germany, heading for Ukraine. Sweden is sending a total of 250 such APC models. Maybe this the equipment for one of the 10 unequipped Ukrainian brigades. The PBV-302 is a Swedish tracked armored personnel carrier designed in the 1960s to modernize Sweden's mechanized infantry. Built to replace the outdated PBV-301, it became a reliable mainstay of the Swedish military during the Cold War. The vehicle is powered by a 270-horsepower Volvo diesel engine, enabling a top speed of 65 kilometers per hour and excellent off-road mobility. Its welded steel armor provides protection against small arms fire and shrapnel, making it effective in combat scenarios. The PBV-302 is armed with a 20mm autocannon, capable of engaging both ground and low-flying aerial targets.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. He's doing the job every day.